Okay, all of you, welcome to our Thanksgiving dinner co-sponsored by the Baha'i Center and Trinity Episcopal Church Bethlehem. And I want to give special thanks to Trinity Bethlehem. They are hosting us here tonight. Thank you very much, especially to them. First, the Baha'i Center is a non-profit organization which organizes this kind of dialogue events to promote mutual understanding among people of different faith, cultures, and backgrounds for more than 14 years now. In the world, especially nowadays, unfortunately, we are having darkness and heartbreaking situations every day, and we get sad for them. We are here because instead of cursing this darkness, we are here to light a candle and stand against it, stand solidarity against it. So tonight we show that Muslim, Jewish, Christian, Baha'i, or else, doesn't matter. We can all come together, sit together, eat together, and actually in a worship place. Therefore, being here tonight means more than just coming together for a regular dinner. It means more than that. We are all people of God, just different interpretation for various aspects. Like, I think you all know the story of that 6 blind man and the elephant. They all touch different parts, and they all say, this is a tree, this is whatever, but actually it's all elephant, right? So we have to make this more visible and show people. There is much that unites us than divides us. We have much commonalities than differences. We are all first human beings, then a Muslim, first human, then a Christian, first human, Democrat, Republic, whatever we are. But we are all first human beings. We enjoy learning from each other, sharing each other in this kind of events. So, and we are all from actually following a tradition which says like the famous Sufi, Rumi, come, whoever you are, whatever you are, doesn't matter, come. So thank you very much all for coming here tonight, being with us, and sharing our food. I hope you all will enjoy this night and also enjoy food. Thank you very much to all of you for coming.
Hello everyone, I'm Pamela Payne. I'm the relatively brand new rector of Trinity Episcopal Church, and on behalf of our church, I'm so happy to welcome all of you here tonight. And I can't help but think that, like the original, very first Thanksgiving, we are people from different walks of life, different religion traditions who are joining together as the original participants in Thanksgiving did. Despite our differences, despite all the things that might divide us, we come together to celebrate each other and our commonality and our belief that we are loved by one true God, to celebrate and to give thanks. And we are so grateful to you for, first of all, asking us to host this event and for coming and joining us here. So I hope that you'll come back again very soon. As I understand, last spring during Maundy Thursday, I was not here, but I was told about this wonderful event where we celebrated our Maundy Thursday service, and we were joined by members of other traditions who came and who observed, but who also lived into that experience with us. And we are so grateful for that. And we hope that tonight you will have just as much fun and meaning here as we celebrate the bounty of God's harvest and of God's love to us. So welcome. And let us now listen to Millard, who will lead us in a prayer.
I would invite you to open your program and turn it to the back where you will find the prayers. Baruch Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, sheyakom b'dvaro. Amen. And I invite you now to join me in the English. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, through whose word everything comes into being. Amen. And now we invite Pam to come back and to lead us in the Christian.
This is a collect from our Book of Common Prayer. A collect collects the prayers of everyone and sums them up. Let us pray. Almighty and gracious God, we give you thanks for the fruits of the earth in their season, and for the labors of those who harvest them. Make us, we pray, faithful
faithful stewards of your great bounty, for the provision of our necessities and the relief of all who are in need, to the glory of your name. Amen.
And the Muslim prayer. Allahumma barik lana fima razaqtana wa qina adhaban nar. Bismillah. And all together. Oh Allah, bless the food you provided us and save us from the punishment of hellfire. In the name of Allah. Amen.
O thou kind Lord, thou seest us assembled before this food,
With thankful hearts, our eyes gazing towards thy kingdom. O Lord, send us food from thy heaven, and blessings from thy presence. Thou art the bountiful, the merciful, and the compassionate.
Amen. And now it's time to eat. So we have two sides. You can either start from that part or that part. And I hope you enjoy it. You can hear it. All right. If I can take your attention again. So, excuse me, if I can like to take your attention. So, we will continue our program. While you could also listen to this part and also take your rotations here. So now we will continue with the speakers from the representatives of each tradition. So they'll tell us what's Thanksgiving, Thanksgiving for them, to human beings, and also to God. So they each represent from their own tradition, and we'll have from Jewish perspective Stephanie Barnett with us, and after that from Christian speaker Annual Payne, and as a Muslim speaker Ijaz Khan will be with us. Thank you very much. And we start with Stephanie Barnett. Thank you.
On what Judaism tells us about the importance of Thanksgiving to people and to God. Well, nothing in Judaism is brief, but I will try my best. For Jewish people, the idea of Thanksgiving is intertwined into every aspect of our daily lives. There is an old Jewish tradition that you should say 100 blessings a day. And for us, all blessings start the same way. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Blessed are you, the Lord our God, sovereign of the universe. From there, the rest of the blessing changes, and there is a blessing for absolutely everything. There is even a blessing for blessings. What is the purpose for this blessing? Why has God commanded us to give thanks? And for those of you who care, Deuteronomy 10:12-14 is where this comes. For those of you who don't care, we continue on. Now, I do not presume to know the will of the holy, but I do know that we are asked to be in community with one another and with God. We are asked to draw in, to be hospitable, to feed the hungry and clothe the poor, to welcome the stranger, and to add another seat at the table rather than slamming the door. This is something that all of our traditions share. We are asked to give of ourselves, to be thankful, and to remember God. But how many of us are able to do this? If we are honest with ourselves, it is a struggle. We get busy, We forget to be thankful. We forget the blessing of life. And we forget God. And so a long, long, long time ago, a tradition began to say 100 blessings a day, or roughly one blessing every 10 minutes during the waking hours. The idea is that it keeps one centered on the holy and invites forward one's best self. Now, a number of years ago, I decided to try it, just to see what would happen. And after the third blessing, I felt a lot better. I had slowed down. I was noticing the world around me. My day was going much better. Do I do it every day? No. I'm still human. But on days when I remember to give thanks rather than anger or frustration, I have a much better day. I feel more connected to myself, to my community, and to God. And so blessed are you, the Lord our God, sovereign of the universe, who has brought us to this time and to this place and to this community. Amen.
Amen.
Trinity Episcopal Church is part of the Christian faith, which includes, as probably most of you know, many different branches, communions, and denominations. Every week, and sometimes even more than just once a week, our church and many other Christian churches gather around a table and celebrate a meal. That meal means a lot of different things, but it is called Holy Eucharist. The word Eucharist comes from the Greek word for thanksgiving. At this table of thanksgiving, we remember Jesus, who in the Last Supper before his death, gathered his disciples together and broke bread, shared wine, and gave thanks to God for each of these, and for the profound symbol that they offer of Christ's body and blood given for the world. Eucharist. We give thanks. We give thanks for Jesus' sacrifice, for his willingness to show us what unconditional love really is. We give thanks that God created us and loves us. We also give thanks that God gave us each other. Those of us who call ourselves Christian, and those of us who profess different faiths or no faiths at all, God gave us each other. That mythical first Thanksgiving, where the Pilgrims and the Native Americans gathered together to feast on the fruits of their labor after a long season of hardship, was taught to many of us from our earliest days in grade school. We were taught that the Pilgrims, the immigrants who left their home because of religious persecution, were completely vulnerable after they arrived here in this then strange world. They didn't know how to farm this land. They didn't know how to hunt for the peculiar animals that they found here, among which was turkey. And they were vulnerable to the diseases that they had not developed an immunity to. But they were helped, so the story goes, by the friendly indigenous folk of this land who welcomed them and showed them how to survive and how to thrive. At the end of the harvest, they gathered together, immigrants and indigenous, to celebrate and to give thanks. These European immigrants knew their lives had been blessed and saved by the generosity and the kind-heartedness of the peaceful folk who were first on this land. So they gave thanks. Later on, unfortunately, the vulnerable became the oppressors and drove Native Americans away from their land, onto reservations, took their children. It's a sad heritage, and it's one we are still trying to figure out how to rectify, how to repent from, how to make it right. The descendants of those original immigrants from Europe forgot something really important. They forgot that we are made for life together. We are made to love each other. We cannot survive alone. And only when we care for each other and seek a better life and a better world for each other will we all thrive together. Those early folks, the immigrants and the indigenous who gathered together to celebrate, they knew that. Unfortunately, it was forgotten, and the way we make up for it, or try to make up for it, is to continue to remember, to bring it back again, and never forget again. Let us remember tonight then, and next week when we feast together with our families and our friends, we are meant for life together. We only survive when we thrive together. We were created by a God whose love is so big, we can never reach the end of it. And that same God calls us to love each other and to realize that all our destinies are intertwined. We are knit together in the love of the Holy One. Thanks be to God.
Amen.
Hello everyone, good evening. So my name is Ejaz, and I am a Muslim speaker for tonight. So thanks, in Quran we find many places. The word thanks equal to shukr, and it is mentioned many and many times. It's very important in human beings, and as it is a quality of believers. Shukr or thanks is used in Quran equivalent to the faith. As we believe and as we thanks, we see both together in our eyes. Allah has described His Prophet Muhammad and other messengers, among those who were thankful. Of course, gratitude's importance was emphasized by Prophet Muhammad when we mention usually a hadith says once Prophet Muhammad took a hand of his companions named Muaz ibn Jabal and said, "O Muaz, by Allah, I love you." He said twice. Then he said, "O Muaz, I advise you, do not fail to say this after every prayer. O Allah, help me to remember you and help me to thank you. Help me to thank you and help me to worship you properly." He also taught us, as thanking to Allah, we do not forget to thank our family, our friends, our relatives, our neighbors, and all those people who do any good thing to us. Also, there is a hadith mentioning those who do not thank people, they do not thank Allah or God. There is a chapter named Surah Ar-Rahman, the Lord of Mercy. This surah asking each human being a question 31 times. The question is, which of the favor of your Lord will you deny? I'll say, Allah created us, and then He created this world, this universe for us. And we are getting benefits from all of His creations, such as the sun, moon, cloud, rain, air, grasslands, animals, plants, rivers, oceans, and countless other bounties of the natural world. After realizing all this abundance, how can a sensible person be anything but thankful to God? In Islam, in our religion, Thanksgiving is not a particular religion act or service. It is not traditional only, but it is the whole life. The whole life should be lived in obedience to our ultimate benefactor God. We should remind ourselves all the time that we are His favor and blessings. There are many special prayers. In Muslim traditional, we do prayers in each moment. For example, while starting eating, we do prayers. When we done eating, we do prayers. Before going to bed, we do prayers. When we woke up every morning, we do prayer. Uncountable prayer moment in this religion. I'm not preferring the religion, but this as a God ultimate benefactor, we supposed to do. Every person and every believer should do that. So at the final, I will say that being connected to Allah is very and very important in our each moment of life, in our happiness as well as in our sad moments, because He is the only who provide everything and who put us in sometimes examine us or just finding our faith level where we are. Thank you everyone and happy Thanksgiving. Have a good night.
And now we'll learn some music songs from other traditions. And for the Jewish tradition, we first have Miller to help us. And for the Christian tradition, I think Miller will lead us. And for the Muslim tradition, our kids from the Baha'i and Muslim kids choir will make a surprise for you. Okay, let's go. No surprise.
Well, I think on behalf of everyone, though, we can all say a tremendous word of thanks and gratitude for this feast, this abundant feast. How good and how pleasant it is when brothers and sisters dwell as one. Repeat after me. Hine matov. Again, that's right. Hine matov. Humanai. Hine matov humanai. Shevet ahim. Gam yachad. Hine matov humanai. Shevet ahim gam yachad. All together. Hine matov humanai. Shevet ahim gam yachad. Hine matov humanai. Shevet ahim gam yachad. And you have the words on your sheet in case you forget. Now let's try to sing it. Hine matov humanai. Hine matov humanai. Once more. Hine matov humanai. Shevet ahim gam yachad. Shevet ahim gam yachad. Shevet ahim gam yachad. Hine matov humanai. Shevet ahim gam yachad. Now let's mix it up a little bit. There's a twist with the second verse, which the words are the same, but the music's slightly different. Inemato shevet ahim gam yad. Inemato shevet ahim gam yad. Inemato shevet ahim gam yad. Now from the top. Inemato manayim shevet ahim gam yad. Inemato manayim shevet ahim gam yad. Inemato shevet ahim gam yad. And one final time. Inemato manayim shevet ahim gam yad. Inemato manayim shevet ahim gam yad. Inemato shevet ahim gam yad.
I'm responsible for introducing you to a Christian form of singing. This particular piece comes from Taizé in France. Taizé is an international monastic community, and one of their highlights, and one of the things they're very famous for, is this type of music, this sort of chant that you sing over and over and over again. So I will play and sing through it once and then ask you, those of you who read music should have it easy. The rest of you will just listen and it will just surround you and you will understand it in just a few minutes. So let's give it a try. I'll sing it through once for you.
And now, with big applause, our kids are coming.
Thank you.
being with us tonight and hope to see you in future events. There are sign sheets for your email list. If you would like your email, you can inform me about our future events. Thank you all for coming and we'll see you. Good night.